three phases of matter. The solid ice is a secure place for these birds to stand. The liquid water is where they swim to find food. And the invisible gas, air, is blowing all around them. Ice, water, and air have different properties. Solid ice has a definite size, or volume, and shape. In other words, the size and shape do not change. That is characteristic of all solid substances. Liquid water has a definite volume, but its shape changes. It forms waves, crashes up on shore, and flows back to the sea. The volume of liquid water is always the same, but its shape depends on where it is. That is characteristic of all liquid substances. Air does not have a definite volume or shape. Air fills in around everything and can take any shape. The ability to change volume and shape is characteristic of all gaseous substances. Why is ice solid? Why is water liquid and air gas? The phase of a substance depends on the relationship between the particles of that substance. In solid ice, the particles are stuck together. They cannot move around because forces attract and hold the particles to each other. These attractive forces are called bonds. They glue particles together. When particles cannot move, the substance cannot change size or shape. In liquid water, bonds hold particles close to each other, but they're not stuck together. The particles move over and around each other. That allows water to flow. Particles in a liquid are packed close together, so the volume always stays the same. But because particles can move, the shape of a liquid can change. Liquids take the shape of their container. So solids have a definite shape and volume, and they sit in the bottom of their container. Liquids have a definite volume, but their shape changes to fill the bottom of a container. And gases have no definite volume or shape and always fill their containers. In gas, particles fly around in space as individuals. Particles have a lot of space between them. Because they are not bonded, they spread out to fill a container. Gases have no definite volume or shape. Gases fill any container they are put into. Applying force to matter. Let's look at 3 samples of matter. 1 sample is solid, 1 liquid, 1 gas. Each sample is made up of 39 particles. Each is in an identical container. This is how the particles would be organized in the 3 samples. A syringe is a good tool for applying force to samples of matter. We can use a syringe to see what happens when gas is applied to a solid, liquid, and a gas. So in the solid syringe, the particles are touching tightly. The liquid, they're sliding around past each other, but they can move. And the particles of a gas have a lot of space between them. Solids and liquids are not very interesting in a closed syringe. They cannot be forced into a smaller space because the particles are already in contact with one another. But there is a lot of space between gas particles. Gases can be compressed. The particles of compressed gas are forced closer together. But there is a limit to how much gas can be compressed. At first, it's easy to push the plunger down. The air inside the syringe feels spongy, but the farther down you push the plunger, the harder it feels. Why is that? The air particles are flying around very fast inside the syringe. When they crash into the plunger and the walls of the syringe, they apply a force. When the plunger pushes gas into a smaller space, it pushes the particles much closer together. This results in more particles hitting the plunger every second. The particles pushing on the plunger tip make it harder and harder to push the plunger. So here's the moving air particles. And then we apply a force to them. And now they're much closer to each other and much less space for them to move around in. And that's the end.